Okay, we're set. Take it away.
Oh, that's me. Today is August 1st, and this is a weekly development meeting for BackdropCMS. Before we get into the project itself, it looks like we have one new contrib module, block background color, which I think is due to you, Tim. So thanks for getting that one started. Is that a port of a Drupal module?
Am I muted? No, I'm not. That was the one that I actually found a Drupal 7 module. I ran it through like Coder Upgrader, created the GitHub project, and then put a note in the project page and said, hey, if anybody wants to help, do it. And about 10 days later, I got a pull request from the Drupal maintainer, and he had it working.
That's fantastic.
And then he since has volunteered to maintain it. So.
Wow, that's great.
Yep.
All right, so
I'm going to add that it's similar to a module that is it Joseph or Joseph is working on. It's not a backdrop project yet, but he has a similar module with some other features.
Okay, that's great. Okay, Backdrop websites. We just talked about in the design and user experience meeting the need to set up automated daily backups for the forum site, the API site, and the translation site. I think we already actually have backups set up, but we want sanitized backups so that anyone who wants to work on those sites will get them. So Nate and I both pinged Justin to see if I had any time to set that up. But I've already created sanitized backup for the forum site, and I'm going to do another one for the API site, and I'll throw them both in the sanitized folder. So there'll be some manual backups in there until we can get the automated ones running. All right, so that's all we have in meta information. So I'm going to turn it over to Nate to talk about updates on the project itself.
All right, let's see here. So the next bug fix release that we're currently working on is 1.13.3. We've acquired quite a few issues that have been completed for that. Let me pull up GitHub. So the 1.13.3 milestone currently has 18 closed issues and 42 open ones, quite a bit of code that is ready for review in there. Items that are of note. This issue, the views is none of operator has been broken for a while now. It's issue 3614. Still needs a little bit of work, as my understanding. Yeah. So there's broken tests. The fix works. There's some tests, but then some of the tests are failing. And so we continue to have a testing problem on this one. Let's see, layout changes. If you change the layout template, sometimes that loses the placement of blocks when the region names don't match. It's issue 3762. Currently marked works for me. RTBC with a question mark, so not yet RTBC, but could potentially get there. And then views crossports, issue 3685. I had not quite realized how many crossports had been accumulating here, but there are a huge number of them. And Gregory has gone through and ported dozens and dozens of patches from Drupal 7, which is really super awesome. I went through this past week and got all of 3719, which is views 3.9 through 3.11 merged in, and started on the 3.12 list. There's only one issue remaining in 3719 that hasn't been completed yet, and the port is fine. It's just the test is failing. So almost have that one knocked out. And then the idea is that we're going to start from the past and then work increasingly towards the future, because the current versions, there's too many changes that the patches are not applying anymore. So we're working on getting through some of these older versions and then getting all of those things cross-ported into Backdrop. Yep. So we're making some progress there. Yeah, you can check out the 113.3 milestone, of course, to see all of the issues that are slated for the next bug fix release. One more issue that wasn't on this list here that I thought was notable that just got merged in was there was this excellent issue. Oh, it's right here. For this title is not entirely correct here, but if you installed Backdrop via the command line with Drush SI, it wasn't enabling the emoji support by default, and now it is. I'm hoping this will also solve a lingering issue with Pantheon, that Pantheon doesn't turn on emoji support when you install using its automated tools either. So that would be nice if that just turned on by default all the time now. So we'll see. Let's see. Any other issues you guys would like to bring up for notable bug fixes or issues that are being worked out for 113.3?
I found an issue recently, and I haven't searched to see if we already have an issue in the queue, but with the new breadcrumb block, if you set the setting that adds the page title to the last page and happen to have the breadcrumb block on your homepage, like for example, if you're using the default layout on your homepage, you'll get the page title without any breadcrumbs, which I find kind of alarming. Like I think you should check for breadcrumbs, and then if there are breadcrumbs, add the page title to the end, not just blindly add the page title all the time, because otherwise you're going to end up with the page title where you don't have any crumbs, which seems kind of weird. So I don't know if anyone else has run into that or not, but I would love to get that fixed in 113. It seems like a quick fix. So I'll look for that.
Did you file an issue?
I want to see if there's one first, but I will file one if there's not.
Okay. All right. 114 is the next minor release that will be coming out September 15th. It's now the 1st of August, which is usually about the time that everybody gets really anxious about, oh my gosh, we got to get some work together for the next version of Backdrop. Feature freeze will be September 1st, so 1 month from now. We'll need to have wrapped up all of the features for 114, and then the release will come out on the 15th. So items that we're working on and the various advocates for them. Issue that I'm working on currently is digital signatures on packages, part of our automatic updates initiative. The issue for this is 1992. The status of which is that it's still hung up on me doing reviews. John Franklin has an enormous amount of work that I'm slowly working through to get caught up. As always, or as I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, the intent is that we would first deploy this functionality onto BackdropCMS.org, get project module up to date, and update the feeds. And then once the feeds were all correct, then we would update the subsequent code or the correlating code in Backdrop core. So still just pending a lot more reviewing there on my part. That's all I've got on that. Fieldable files. Jen, this is your issue 2632.
So I started working on an update last week. Essentially, the sandbox is borked at the moment, and so I need to push up a new pull request that will overwrite the existing one so it'll work. But then I also want to write a detailed status in the issue summary that explains what it does and what people should be testing, and I haven't done that yet. So I will try and get that done that last week, and then I didn't, but we'll try it this week again.
Okay. We don't have Gregory here with us this week, so I'll cover these two issues that he's on. Trusted Host Patterns, issue 2568, is a simple cross-port from the Drupal world to make it so that you could specify a domain name in settings.php to make it so that your site is only delivered under certain domain names. This is a pretty simple cross-port. Has been in the state of needs review for quite a while, though. And while he's waiting for review on that, he picked up 3755, which is an issue that Doc Wilmot is spearheading, configurable layout templates. This basically allows you to set up a layout template that is made up of any number of columns and any number of rows. Issue 3755. Status of this issue is that it needs work still. It's not ready to be like thoroughly used or tested. But Doc Wilmot's request here is that he can get a code review about the concept and the general approach. And if it looks good, then he will continue going down that route. So currently needs review. I would encourage anybody else that's interested in that posting a review there. Doesn't have to just be myself, would also be really helpful. Let's see, recent news block in the dashboard. Tim, this is an issue that you are advocating, 3566. Can you give us an update?
Sure. Well, the point here is to provide a functionality similar to something that WordPress has on their basic dashboard, which allows us to post sort of news items on backdrop.org and have them show up in individual website dashboards, like for admins to see. And the issue is making a lot of progress. It's been stalled for about a month, primarily on some decisions we need to make in the regarding the feed from backdrop.org, namespace issues, things like that. I think it either takes somebody smarter than me just stepping in and offering decisions, or me doing a little bit of research and making some recommendations, which is what I've talked about doing the last couple of weeks and just haven't had time for, was to sort of see what other sites are doing. But frankly, I think ultimately somebody else is going to need to step in and say this makes sense or not. I think Jeff has expressed some opinions, and we just need to, if anybody has thoughts on that, please share them. That's on the backdrop.org issue, mostly stuff like naming the API and the path. That's all.
I think, Nate, we were hoping you might weigh in on that since you've had more experience building APIs before, and this is something that might be hard to change later because of me ingesting it in core. So just like what do we want the URL to end in .json if it's a JSON feed? Do we want it to start with /API? Just like some best practice in terms of naming things, combined with what we want for Backdrop. So we're probably going to be setting up other APIs in the future, so we'd probably follow the same conventions.
Yeah, I was looking through here. Something as dumb as an iframe had been suggested. It looks like Peter suggested that at one point, that it's not even an API, it's literally just an iframe of an HTML page on BackdropCMS.org. Would also do the job. I don't know if that would cause some kind of security concerns, though. Like if content posted.
We're way past that. We've already got the API set up. We just need help with the URL.
And it's the issue on backdrop.org, not the main issue in the core issue queue. It's issue number 560, or to pull requests number 562 on backdropcms.org. And in the very last comment of Jeff's, he has some little to-do boxes. Pretty sure that validation checks for proper protocol and valid link structure, but not for an actual valid status. I don't understand that. I have no idea what I just read. And then it's like a question about, is .json in the feed or the endpoint?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, lots of interesting questions here.
Naming things is hard.
Yeah. And I think once we make those decisions, we could probably have this going in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, the long-term repercussions of it are interesting because like things like, this isn't really like a general purpose API. This is a very specific, API, kind of like the updates API and the project browser. Right now, each one of those is a dedicated subdomain on BackdropCMS.org.
We could do the same here if you wanted to follow that convention, where we could have like a news.BackdropCMS.org or whatever we decide, announcements or whatever. I forget what we decided to call it, but.
Although every time, I don't know, moving the servers isn't too bad. Like when we moved from the last server to the new one, like it was just another domain name that had to be pointed at the same IP address. So, adding more domain names adds a slight overhead. But it is nice that it kind of designates it as its own thing, that it doesn't have to be consistent with other stuff because it's independent of everything else. Okay, I'll have to think about that. Before I weigh in.
Okay.
Okay, and then lastly, anything else, Tim, on dashboard? Okay. And lastly, keeping CKEditor up to date, issue 3355. We have some work to do to keep CKEditor up to date with the latest version.
The latest like minor version, not the latest major version.
Yeah, sorry, latest minor version. CKEditor 5, the next version of CKEditor, we've been looking at a little bit, and I've been in communication with the Drupal team around what they're planning on doing for CKEditor in the future. The next version of CKEditor has some pretty serious backwards compatibility problems, not just from like the code standpoint, but also literally the content you created with the previous version of CKEditor is not compatible with the next version of CKEditor. So we're going to have a whole different problem there once we start looking at, moving past CKEditor 4. So anyway, but 3355 is just about updating CKEditor 4 to the latest minor version and making sure we keep up to date there. Anything else you guys would like to mention for 114? Okay. We don't have any items for the general discussion and Q&A, unless if somebody would like to speak now. All right. Well, let's call it a short meeting then. Thank you for joining. Thank you out there for people that are watching on the internet. This is our second meeting now using Zoom. Seems like we might be continuing this into the future. So, yeah, thank you everybody out there.
Hey, Dan, can I just quickly say, remind people on this thing about the spring thing on Sunday. There's an event on backdrop.org, cms.org. The Sunday morning in the US, evening in Europe, I guess, we'll be doing some contribution stuff. So check in on that. Yep, there you go. Yep.
Yep, awesome.
CMS virtual contribution sprint.
Nice.
Yep, most excellent. Yeah, and we'll see. Jen and I, we are going to be at Drupal Camp, Colorado, at the King Center in Aurora, in Denver, Colorado. And so there is one official session, but Jen and I are also just going to be around during the summit days, kind of splitting up and attending the nonprofit summit and the education summit. And so we'll be there to talk about Backdrop there as well. Okay, thanks for the reminder, Tim. And thanks again, everybody. And yep, we'll see you guys next week.